The entire episode takes place in the shadows of the night, and that alone sets a haunting tone. From the very beginning, you feel the weight of what's coming. The Garden of Gethsemane is not just a location here, it's the place where everything begins to unravel. Jesus enters the garden with his closest disciples, heavy with sorrow, knowing what is about to unfold. The air feels thick with suspense because we already know this is the night when he will be betrayed, the night when his friends will scatter, and the night when history itself will bend. As Jesus kneels to pray, the words echo through the silence, "Not my will, but yours be done." That single line carries the force of eternity because it is the moment he accepts the suffering ahead. It's chilling, it's heartbreaking, and yet it's also the most powerful surrender the world has ever known. But the garden doesn't stay quiet for long. The sound of footsteps breaks the night as Judas arrives, leading the soldiers straight to Jesus. The betrayal is swift and shocking, even though we knew it was coming. A kiss, a gesture of friendship, twisted into the very act that hands the Son of God over to his enemies. You can almost feel the anger boiling in the disciples. Peter, in particular, cannot hold back. He reaches for his sword, striking at one of the guards in a desperate attempt to protect his master. For a brief moment, it looks like chaos will explode. But Jesus stops it all with a single command: "Put your sword away." Imagine that. In the middle of the betrayal, in the middle of an arrest, he chooses peace. He chooses the cross. The silence of his acceptance is louder than any battle cry could ever be. From there, Jesus is seized, bound, and led away. The disciples scatter into the night, fear gripping them as the weight of the moment crushes their courage. Only Peter and John dare to follow at a distance, their hearts torn between loyalty and fear. The episode makes it clear. This is not just the arrest of a man. This is the arrest of the Messiah, and the world will never be the same. The soldiers march him to the house of Annas, the former high priest who still holds influence and power. Annas questions him harshly, demanding answers about his disciples and his teachings. But Jesus does not play into their game. He speaks with boldness and truth. "I have spoken openly to the world. I taught in synagogues and at the temple, where all the Jews come together. I said nothing in secret. Why question me?" That defiance, that confidence enrages them. And then it happens. One of the guards strikes him across the face. It is brutal, it is humiliating, and it is just the beginning of what he will endure. Meanwhile, Peter waits outside, warming himself by the fire. The pressure begins to build as people recognize him. "Weren't you with him?" they ask. Fear overtakes him, and he denies it. Once, twice, and finally a third time. The moment the rooster crows, the weight of betrayal crashes down on him. This isn't just a story about Jesus being abandoned. It's about how fear, doubt, and weakness can break even the strongest of his followers. And yet, even in that darkness, we know forgiveness is waiting. The scene is raw, human, and painfully real. Back inside, the questioning intensifies. False witnesses are dragged in, their testimonies clashing as they try desperately to build a case against him. The council is in chaos, searching for any charge that will stick. And then Caiaphas, the high priest, asks the question that silences the room. "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" This is the breaking point. Jesus could have stayed silent. He could have tried to defend himself, but instead, he speaks words that change everything. "I am. And you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven." The moment those words leave his mouth, his fate is sealed. The council erupts in fury, tearing their robes and shouting blasphemy. To them, this is the ultimate crime. To us, it is the ultimate declaration of truth. And this is where the suspense of episode 1 hits its peak. Jesus is condemned by his own people, struck, mocked, and spat upon. The night has only just begun, but the path to the cross is now irreversible. The disciples are scattered, fear has won for now, and the Messiah stands alone in the hands of those who want him dead. The energy of this episode is relentless, refusing to give you a moment of rest. Every scene feels like it's pulling you deeper into the shadows of that night, making you wonder how much darker it can possibly get. As the night stretches on, Jesus is dragged from Annas to Caiaphas, the current high priest, where the Sanhedrin is waiting. This is no ordinary gathering. It is a council fueled by rage, desperation, and fear of losing their grip on power. They are not here for justice. They are here for blood. And from the very first moments, you can feel the entire weight of their hatred pressing down on Jesus. Witnesses are brought forward, each one eager to condemn him, but their words do not match. Their lies stumble over one another, and their testimonies collapse under the pressure of truth. It becomes almost frantic, almost pathetic, as they scramble to piece together a charge that will stick. But still, the atmosphere is heavy with danger, because everyone in that chamber already knows what they want: the death of the man who claims to be the Son of God. The tension builds until Caiaphas finally cuts through the noise with a question that hangs in the air like a blade. Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One? Silence follows, and for a moment, it feels like time itself has stopped. This is the moment where everything rests. If Jesus remains silent, the chaos might fade. If he denies it, he might escape with his life. But instead, he speaks words that seal his fate forever. I am. And you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. Those words explode in the chamber. Caiaphas tears his robes in fury, the council shouts blasphemy, and the decision is made. Jesus must die. It is no longer a question. It is a declaration of war against the very one they had been waiting for. From that moment, the abuse begins. They spit in his face. They strike him with their fists. They mock him, blindfold him, and demand he prophesy who hit him. The Son of God stands beaten and humiliated before those who should have recognized him as their Savior. Every blow lands not only on his body, but also on the hearts of those who believe, because this is the price of obedience, the cost of surrender to the will of the Father. Watching it unfold is suffocating. You want him to fight back. You want him to call down angels from heaven to end the madness. But he doesn't. He endures. Because this is the path he chose, the only path that leads to salvation. Meanwhile, Peter lingers in the courtyard, caught in his own trial. Fear surrounds him like a shadow as voices whisper, "You were with him." His denials spill out one after another, each one heavier than the last. And then the rooster crows, the sound pierces the night, and the weight of his betrayal crashes over him like a wave. Peter runs, weeping bitterly, his heart shattered by what he has done. The brilliance of this moment is not just in Peter's failure, but in its reminder that weakness and fear can overtake even the most loyal follower. And yet, in the tragedy of his denial, there is also hope, because redemption is still to come. Back inside, the Sanhedrin prepares their next move. They know they cannot carry out an execution themselves. Under Roman rule, the power of death belongs only to the governor, Pontius Pilate. And so, the decision is made. At dawn, Jesus will be delivered to the Roman authorities. But even as the council disperses, the night is still alive with cruelty. Guards continue to mock him, striking him again and again, jeering at the King of the Jews. Their laughter fills the chamber, but beneath it all lies a chilling truth. The king they mock is the king of all creation, and they do not see it. As the first light of dawn begins to creep over Jerusalem, the episode shifts from the darkness of the Jewish trial to the looming weight of Roman judgment. The Sanhedrin's hatred is fierce, but the Roman world will bring its own brand of cruelty. And as Jesus is led out of Caiaphas's house, bloodied and bruised, the suspense only deepens. What will Pilate do? Will he resist the pressure? Or will he give in to the demands of the crowd? The answers are coming. But for now, the episode leaves us standing at the edge of dawn, where the night's betrayal is about to give way to the day's horror. The brilliance of episode 1 lies in how it refuses to let you breathe. From Gethsemane to Caiaphas's house, every moment is drenched in suspense and emotion. You're not just watching history unfold, you're being pulled into it, feeling every betrayal, every denial, every strike of the hand. It's dark, it's painful, and yet it's unshakably powerful. Because this is not just a story of suffering, it's the story of love in its purest, most sacrificial form. As the first rays of morning cut across the city of Jerusalem, the weight of the night's betrayal gives way to the cold reality of Roman power. Jesus, bruised and bound, is dragged before Pontius Pilate, the governor whose word alone can decide life or death. The Jewish leaders have already reached their verdict, but they know their authority is limited. They cannot execute him themselves. They need Rome. And so they arrive at Pilate's palace, not seeking truth, not seeking justice, but demanding death. From the very beginning, you can feel their desperation. They are not content with the trial. They want a spectacle. They want Rome to confirm what they have already decided in their hearts, that Jesus must be destroyed. Pilate steps into the story not as a villain at first, but as a man caught between politics and conscience. He looks at Jesus and sees no threat. He hears the accusations, claims of blasphemy, claims of rebellion, claims that this man dares to call himself a king. And yet, none of it adds up. Pilate questions him directly, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus replies with words that are calm, controlled, and piercing. "You say so." It is not the answer Pilate expects, and it leaves him unsettled. Here is a man who speaks without fear, a man who does not beg for his life, a man who seems to carry authority even in chains. Pilate senses it immediately. This is no ordinary prisoner, but Pilate is not free to follow his instincts. The Jewish leaders press harder, their voices growing louder, accusing Jesus of stirring up the people, of threatening the fragile balance of power between Rome and Judea. To them, it's not about truth, it's about survival. They fear his influence, they fear his message, and above all, they fear losing control of the people. Pilate, however, sees through their envy. He knows they have handed Jesus over out of jealousy, not justice. Yet, the more he hesitates, the more dangerous the situation becomes. For Pilate, this is not just a trial of Jesus, it is a trial of his own authority. Will he stand against the crowd, or will he bend under the pressure? In a desperate attempt to escape the decision, Pilate sends Jesus to Herod Antipas, who happens to be in Jerusalem at the time. Herod has heard rumors of Jesus for years. He has heard of the miracles, the healings, the signs and wonders. And in this moment, Herod sees a chance to satisfy his curiosity. He questions Jesus eagerly, demanding a sign, a miracle, something to prove his power. But Jesus remains silent. Not a word, not a defense, not a performance. His silence enrages Herod, who expected entertainment, not defiance. And so Herod mocks him, dresses him in a robe, and sends him back to Pilate with nothing resolved. The mockery deepens the humiliation, but the silence of Jesus speaks louder than any miracle could. It is a silence that declares his mission is not to impress kings, but to obey the will of the Father. When Jesus returns to Pilate, the situation has only grown worse. The leaders stir up the crowd, demanding crucifixion. Pilate, still unwilling to condemn an innocent man, offers a compromise. It is the time of Passover, and tradition allows for one prisoner to be released. Pilate presents them with a choice: Jesus, the so-called King of the Jews, or Barabbas, a known rebel and murderer. To Pilate, the choice seems obvious. Surely the crowd will choose Jesus over a violent criminal, but the leaders whisper, they incite, they manipulate. And when the moment comes, the voices rise in unison. Barabbas! Pilate is stunned. He asks again, "Then what shall I do with Jesus who is called the Messiah?" And the crowd roars back, "Crucify him!" The words cut through the air like knives, echoing with the power of a mob that has turned against the one who came to save them. Pilate resists, still trying to free him. He declares openly, "I find no fault in this man." But the cries only grow louder. "If you let this man go, you are no friend of Caesar." Anyone who claims to be a king opposes Caesar. The threat is clear. If Pilate releases Jesus, his loyalty to Rome will be questioned. His position, his career, even his life could be at risk. The pressure becomes unbearable. In one final attempt to satisfy the crowd without condemning Jesus to death, Pilate orders him to be flogged. The flogging is brutal beyond imagination. Roman soldiers are experts in cruelty. The whip, laced with sharp fragments of bone and metal, tears into his flesh again and again until his body is shredded. Blood flows freely, pain radiates through every nerve, and yet Jesus endures it silently. The soldiers mock him mercilessly, draping a purple robe over his wounds, pressing a crown of thorns into his brow, and kneeling before him in mock worship. "Hail, King of the Jews!" Their laughter rings hollow, but their cruelty is real. Every strike, every jeer, every thorn pressed deeper into his skin carries the weight of humanity's rejection. Pilate presents Jesus once more to the crowd, broken and bleeding, hoping that the sight will satisfy their thirst for blood. "Behold the man," he declares, as if to say, "Isn't this enough?" But the answer is immediate and merciless. "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Pilate's last defense crumbles. He washes his hands before the crowd, a symbolic gesture of innocence, and declares, "I am innocent of this man's blood." It is your responsibility. Yet, no matter how much water he pours over his hands, the stain remains. He delivers Jesus over to be crucified, knowing full well that he has condemned an innocent man. And just like that, the fate of the Son of God is sealed. The crowd has chosen rebellion over righteousness, violence over peace, death over life. Pilate has chosen politics over justice, and Jesus, though torn and bloodied, has chosen the cross over escape. The episode leaves us standing in the shadow of that decision, overwhelmed by the weight of what is coming. The path to Golgotha lies ahead, and the horror of crucifixion looms closer with every step. Episode 1 does not give relief. It doesn't let you turn away. Instead, it forces you to walk beside Jesus through betrayal, denial, trial, and torture. It shows us the cost of love, the price of obedience, and the depth of humanity's rejection of its own Savior. It is haunting, it is devastating, and it is unforgettable. The judgment has been passed, and the crowd gets what it demanded. Jesus is handed over to be crucified, and the weight of that decision begins to unfold in the most brutal way imaginable. From Pilate's palace, he is forced to carry his own cross, a heavy beam of rough wood pressing into his torn and battered shoulders. Every step is agony, every movement a reminder of the flogging, the thorns, and the beatings he has already endured. The streets of Jerusalem are lined with people, some jeering, some weeping, but all watching. For many, this is just another execution, a public display of Rome's iron grip. But for those who followed him, for those who believed in him, it is the end of everything they thought they knew. Their teacher, their healer, their Messiah, is being led to death like a criminal. The journey to Golgotha, the place of the skull, is long and excruciating. Jesus stumbles under the crushing weight of the cross, his body collapsing on the stone streets. Soldiers shout, whip, and push him forward, but his strength is nearly gone. At one point, they force a man named Simon of Cyrene to carry the cross behind him. This small act highlights the sheer humanity of Jesus' suffering. He is not walking in untouchable glory. He is walking in brokenness, drained of strength, yet still moving forward because he knows this is the path he must take. The crowd swells as the procession continues. Some mock him, shouting, "If you really are the Son of God, save yourself." Others mourn, women weeping openly for the man who showed them compassion and mercy. And in the middle of it all, Jesus turns to them and says words that pierce deeper than any insult. "Do not weep for me, weep for yourselves and for your children." Even in the midst of his agony, he is thinking not of himself but of those who will face judgment and suffering in the years to come. When they reach Golgotha, the soldiers waste no time. The cross is laid on the ground, and Jesus is stretched out upon it. The sound of the hammer striking nails into flesh and wood shatters the air, his hands, his feet, pierced and fastened to the beam as pain unimaginable rips through his body. The cross is lifted upright, and there he hangs, suspended between heaven and earth, mocked by those below, and abandoned by many who once followed him. Above his head, a sign is placed that reads, "Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews." It is meant as a cruel joke, but in reality, it is the truth, a declaration of his identity that no one can erase, even in mockery. The scene at the cross is overwhelming. Soldiers cast lots for his clothing, dividing his garments as if his suffering were nothing more than entertainment. Religious leaders stand nearby, sneering, "He saved others, but he cannot save himself." The crowd taunts him relentlessly, demanding that he come down if he truly is the Messiah, and yet he does not. He remains, every breath a battle, every heartbeat an act of endurance. The crucifixion is designed to break a man completely, not just in body, but in spirit. But Jesus refuses to give them the satisfaction of despair. Even as his life drains away, he speaks words that turn the entire scene upside down. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Forgiveness, offered not to his followers, not to those who love him, but to the very ones driving nails into his body. This is the depth of his love, a love that reaches into the darkest cruelty and still chooses mercy.